It really can't be. I have another one after this, so.
You are all set. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you very much, Dave. All right. I am going to take care of a couple of things. Hello, Donald.
Morning, good evening.
How you doing?
I'm okay, thanks.
Excellent. Excellent. I have got to grab a couple things. I got probably about 8 minutes before the meeting time starts. I'm going to grab a couple things and I'll be right back.
I don't know.
All right. Let's see. Hello, Charlie.
Hey, Derek, what's up, buddy?
Not much. We are actually currently being recorded, but also streaming live on YouTube.
Okay, but I was muted, correct?
You were, yes. I just want to make sure everybody knows not only is it being recorded, but it's also streamed live.
All right,
So,
cool.
Hi, Charlie.
Hey, Donald, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
and let's see, what do we got here? Like I said earlier, hopefully this doesn't take a lot of time. I have another obligation tonight as well. I know John is in another call. He's in another meeting, a Zoom meeting that started at 7, and they're running very long right now. He messaged me and said they were about halfway through their agenda or whatnot, so he might be a little while if he can actually even attend. He's obligated to the other one as well. So we'll see. We'll give everybody about 3 or 4 minutes, and hopefully we get a quorum. All right, there's Steve. Hello, Steve.
Hey, fellas.
Hey, Steve, as I explained to the other guys, we are being recorded, but also live streamed as well. So everybody needs to know. We also have, if you guys saw the new guidelines for Zoom meetings, we have to go around and actually introduce who's present by name. I guess there was one open meeting complaint that some people that were logging in, whether it be via phone or whatnot, even though it says the names on the bottom of the screens under our pictures, it wasn't suitable because that can be false. You have to actually say your name just like we would at town meeting or selectmen's meeting or whatnot.
Sometimes in my case, it says Janet.
Yeah, mine actually, Dave changes mine every meeting because my wife uses it for class, and I know she was doing parent-teacher conferences the other day. So, hello, Tom. We'll explain to Tom that we are not only being recorded but also streamed live on YouTube right now. And we do have a quorum, so another minute or so, and we'll make a motion to open up the meeting. Just another minute or two. See if anybody's straggling. All right. All right. So if we have a quorum, so if I can get a motion to open the meeting of March 25th, 2021. And everybody is on mute.
Motion to open the meeting.
Second.
Seconded. Sorry about that.
I'm in favor.
All right. Get a vote. Unanimous. Derek Yule,
Steve O'Donnell, aye.
Joe Reed. Oh,
and Tom and Charlie.
Aye.
And Charlie.
yes, I'm in favor of opening the meeting. Let's do it.
All right. So in attendance right now, Derek Yule, Joseph Reese, Tom Reagan, Steve O'Donnell Jr., and Charles Williams III. We also have guest, Mr. Khan from Open Spaces. Rip through right away the agenda. Obviously, the meeting minutes were the first item there. Let me see here. I just got an email from John about his presence. He's all set. All right, so I'm going to see sent. You guys all individually received and have read through the minutes, I assume. So what we'll do is go by date. Starting with the oldest, and moving forward from there. As I've stated, for the guests that may have just shown up, this is being recorded as well as streamed live on YouTube. So I have the first set of minutes, June 2020. Obviously, these came back to when we started really doing our Zoom meetings and whatnot. Actually, that's not the first one. It would be May 2020. Sorry. When we started doing Zoom meetings and keeping our minutes, I did not go up to the town hall to submit them because we tabled them several times and whatnot. So first one was from May 7th, 2020. Everybody had a chance to review that document that was sent. If I can get a motion or a discussion, anything need to be discussed about that one first document, May 7th, 2020?
Don't move to accept as written.
Motion to second.
All right, all in favor by roll call?
Aye.
Thomas
Charlie
Reagan?
Williams,
Oh, Tom Reagan, aye.
Steve O'Donnell, aye.
DOI.
Okay. So Pete,
Joe Reese,
Tom,
aye.
Joe Reese. All right, and that should be it. So it's unanimous. Derek Yule, yes, as well. Unanimous, accept that one. Next item is the June 2020. We'll do the same thing, just do it as a roll call. I'll read off, go by name, just so it's a little more organized as it shows up on my screen. For this, is there any discussion about the 2020 June?
Eric, the only thing that I would say is that we need to, because I obviously, if I wasn't at the meeting, we can't vote on it. So do we
Yep.
need to do a roll call of who was at those meetings?
Yep.
Just to make it easier?
Yep, and this was actually one that you were not at, Charlie,
Okay. Thank
and
you.
nor was Pete. So we had a 5-person quorum of Derek, Joe, Thomas, Stephen, and John Hennessy. As a quorum in the meeting, we can still vote on it with the majority. So that should be acceptable. Am I correct in my assumption?
That is right, Derek.
Okay, so starting roll call, if somebody wants to make a motion
So moved.
by Stephen,
Second.
second by Tom. All right, and roll call vote. Derek Yule, yes, approved. Joe Reese,
In favor?
Thomas Reagan,
Approve.
Stephen O'Donnell,
Approve.
and Charlie Williams is abstaining, and Peter Yule is abstaining. So that is a majority. We'll vote to approve. All right, next item, last one from the round 2. We'll jump forward into that one just because it was in the same email, I guess, was the February 2021, just last month's meeting minutes. And everybody that's present here was actually at that meeting. So if there's any discussion, we can open to discussion or a motion to approve.
So move to accept as written.
Steve,
Second.
Tom, second. As a roll call vote to approve the meeting minutes of February 25th, 2021. Myself, yes, and Joe Reese,
Aye.
Tom Reagan,
Aye.
Steve O'Donnell,
Approved.
Charlie Williams.
Yes, I approve.
All right, and Peter. Peter.
I
you-
approve.
Excellent.
Aye.
Unanimous again. That is a vote. All right, last three. We have the meeting minutes from September 21st, 2020. Any discussion? So
So
if we
moved
can
to
get a
accept as written.
motion. Steve O'Donnell motion,
Second.
Tom second. Roll call, myself as well, yes. Joe Reese,
Aye.
Tom Reagan,
Approve.
Steve O'Donnell,
Approve.
Charlie Williams,
Yes, approve.
and Peter Yule.
Yes, yeah, I approve.
All right, that is accepted unanimous. All right, December 3rd, 2020. December 3rd, Charlie and Peter were both absent from this one. So it would be just a majority of the remaining, Joe, Tom, myself, and Steve. So discussion? Nope.
So move to accept as written.
Second.
Second by Tom. And roll, Derek, yes, Joe Reese,
Aye.
Tom,
Approve.
Steve O'Donnell,
Approve.
and that is it for this round. Majority vote approved. And now the last one, January 28th, 2021. Any discussion? Okay. Need a motion?
So move to accept as written.
And a
Second.
Second, Tom. So Steve and Tom across the board. So John would be the only one from this one left off. So Derek, yes. Joe Reese,
Aye.
Tom Reagan,
Approve.
Steve O'Donnell,
Approve.
Charles Williams,
Approve.
and Peter Yule.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. And that meets our requirements for approving all of the meeting minutes. Next item, we'll just fly through if anybody has anything, and then we'll get on to the open discussion. I know Open Space is here to discuss a parcel. If we want, we can actually make a motion to alter and table the progress report and deal with the open space first and let them get into their thing and come back to item number 2 after the fact.
So moved.
Get a second.
Second.
Okay, we'll be moving on to item number 3, open discussions. So we have open spaces here. I received a phone call actually from Mr. Roberg. You guys see him on the screen as Mike B.
He's in the empty,
About-
he's disappeared from the empty screen there.
He is gone. We have a nice outlet. So basically he had brought up the property that was formerly known as McCarthy Farm or the backside of what is the Luan Farm on the bottom side, the Hanson side of Beach Hill. 36 odd acres or something, I believe. There's been a proposition brought forth for that land. And we'll let them discuss it, bring up what their thoughts are. My immediate concerns are a proposition of this size so late in the calendar year, we really won't be able to do anything with it at this meeting, but it might be so moved to push a a special meeting, a special town meeting item, if they do, as they have in the past, something in the summer or even into September. Would need some input on it, but if you guys somebody wants to kick off, just let us know what this.
Let me start and give some background, and Michael can pick up on the background. The McCarthy Farm is a Chapter 61 land, which means that it had a special tax rate. If you want to take it out or sell it, the town has first refusal on these propositions. They have made a purchase and sale agreement already with developer Thomas Hayes. We have 120 days to decide our position on whether we're going to take it or not. This land has been a sort of a big emerald in the emerald necklace on our open space idea. So we would like to see if we could acquire the land for open space. The purchase price is almost $1 million. It's 900,000 and change. We got from Doug the purchase and sale thing. Looking over it, we discovered that one piece of it's two parcels. One parcel is a house lot which is not covered under the Chapter 61A. We also went to the state, and their land, their open space grants are opened right now. We talked to Wildlands Trust, and we were advised that the best grant that we could pursue is the lands grant, which would give us a considerable amount of money, but not all of it. And we also was suggested that perhaps we go to your committee to see if we can get the rest of it. It's a lot of work. Doug, in an email, wrote to me that he and Jen didn't have time to pursue the grants. So it looks like it's the Open Space Committee and anybody else that we can get to help us to look for the grant money. That's the long and short. The land is on, it's page 82 of the assessors map, and it's practically the last piece on the whole map. And it's lots 2 and 16. It abuts Whitman and Hanson. Hanson has a large parcel of land. It's privately owned, but it's full of wet, so it makes a nice connection if we get this to what probably is a piece of land that can't be developed. If we get it, the next move would be to perhaps talk to Hanson and see if they would consider putting that parcel or acquiring that parcel for open space. And on one side, and then on the other side, if you look at the assessors maps, you see lots of undeveloped parcels with various owners all the way up to the water and conservation land where there are trails, as you all know.
Donald, just one thing. Are you talking about, because I'm looking at the assessors map, are you talking about map 81?
Map 82.
Map 82. Okay, thank you.
Yep, and it's 2 and 16. It's on Beach Street, and it comes right. It looks like almost a comb because there are actually 3 house lots that were carved out of here. Where Catherine Looney lived is the first one. Her mother was the second one, and that's I think that's 2. And then there's a sister in the next one, and the third one is out of the family now. So that's where we are, and I ask Michael to pick up the discussion and add whatever he would like.
So Don, when you're talking about the two parcels of land, you said one is, has that special farming tax rate where we have first right of refusal.
That's correct.
That doesn't apply to the second property, is that correct?
It's my understanding it would not apply at all. So that would be subtracted in my estimation from the cost, and we pay no interest in that land, and if the town exercised its option, then that would have to be subtracted out.
All right, when you said it's almost $1 million valuation, is that for both parcels?
Yes, that's proposed for both parcels.
All right,
Do we have any figure on just what it would be for the one parcel that we
don't.
could actually?
Don't, but I can say Catherine Looney had the other thing. She sold her house fairly recently, and I think she got $500,000 for it. But the house that remains, the mother's house, is not at all the house that Catherine sold. So I'm not a real estate guy, so I can't give you a price, but I expected all houses would at least break a couple $100,000. That's just my guess, and I can't, but it requires that when we do this, that we have to have a real estate person come out and assess and put it at market value. Or I guess, yeah, if they have agreed to buy it, then at that price. We also should have a town council go over the proposition that they've sent. We found that there were two parcels in it, and they had lumped it all together, 61A and just a regular parcel into one proposition. So one would be, as I said, subtracted out. And by the way, they would,
Dawn.
yeah.
On this parcel of land, is it wet or is it dry?
It's both. The driveway to the two parcels is a shared driveway, house lots that I'm talking about, and it goes over wetland, and that wetland continues south into Hanson. On the north side of the land, it's pretty dry and upland. In fact, there's a hill summit, I think it's Rye Hill, and that's named. There's also a small pond on the land, and one map showed a couple of streams, but I don't remember. When I walked it years ago, and I don't remember the streams. So, but there is wet, and it's on the south part of it, and on the Hanson side of it.
Steve, can you share that?
Can I share it?
No, Steve.
I cannot see
I'm
it.
on my phone right now, Joe. I'm sorry.
All right.
So the tough thing that we really, from my standpoint right now, is we don't have a specific parcel price.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's
and not only that, an extreme deadline to try to do something with it.
well, we have the town has to act within 120 days.
120 days of the offering. So when was that purchase and sale
No,
signed?
that's of the notice.
Yep.
The purchase and sale was done in December, but the notice the town received it today.
What is
Alright,
that
so-
action, Don?
Yes.
Do you know? What is that action we would have to take as a town?
So it's as I understand it, it's of the notice given
But
until.
what is the action that we have to take?
Well, the action is today is no action. This is informational, and we have to see if we can get the grant, and then we'd have to approach you to see if you could match the grant. If all that fails, I think we'll be a GoFundMe proposition.
But so let me clarify my question. What action would the town need to take? Is it some sort of notification? Do we need to come up with the funds within the 120 days? How does that work? What is the action that's required?
I really don't know, but I suspect if we say we're going to take it, we probably have to come up with the fund. I don't know that for certain. That's a question that perhaps the land attorney would tell us something. I would suspect that within 120 days, if you exercise your option, you have to come up with the means to buy the land.
Yeah, my concern here. I mean, I would love to protect it. I've been through that parcel 100 times probably. The pond you were talking about is actually had always been known as McCarthy Pond.
Yeah.
That
was their swimming pool, I understand.
Yeah, it was 100%. It was a swimming hole for a long time. There's trails that run all through those. I've taken my bike down them. Some of them are completely inaccessible, so I've walked them. It's a great parcel of land. My concern being that, I mean, at this point, we don't even really have a specific number on what it would take to get it. That would require a survey and then an assessment that would stake it off. The assessment comes in. I mean, we'd have to, as our committee, before we could even really move forward with anything, would have to have some administrative funds designated for it to get that assessment or that appraisal, and also the surveyed to give us a realistic lot size and so forth. If the town map is accurate, it was 2 pieces, and then it's not to sound depressing, but it seems like it's an awful lot to undertake in a very short amount of time, especially where we really wouldn't even have the freedom to put something like that as a purchase anyways on town meeting.
Doug Ladd says
Mr. Chairman,
it's going to be a special
can I have
town
the floor?
coming in June, he thought. And this
Don, when I and Pete worked on buying the Roberts property, we got involved with Doug, and we had the place appraised. We had to get money from CPA.
yes.
I think the timeline's going to be tight, but if you get on it tomorrow, you possibly could do it. You got to talk to Doug, let him guide you through it, get a company out there, get it appraised, surveyed, and evaluated, so you know what number you're looking at in the 100 and something days that you've under the gun. But you have to act quick, and trying to get a grant at this time too is going to be difficult. But
Well, the grants are open.
where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep.
Where there's a will, there's a way, and Doug might be able to find a solution to the problem.
I mean, we could
Yeah,
always
Joe.
do something with it. Would have to, as a committee, to alter our internal guides for accepting, projects past the deadline. We've turned others away.
Yes.
This would be one of those events that's, I believe, is actionable by us, because it is a time restricted thing, that we could probably, do something as a committee. Would obviously have to go to a vote just to even accept the application for it.
Right.
But it would have to be something written out at one of the applications. You can download it off the computer, fill it out, get all the information possible on exactly what it is, what lot it is, what the price is, what your grant could be, and go from there. What would our portion have to be? What would you be asking for? For that, we have to do a survey, we have to do an appraisal, so on and so forth. And we need a quote to do that, with land that's really wilderness. I mean, I know what it cost for a couple of the appraisals that were pretty easily accessible. but getting a survey and appraisal of land that is a little more inhospitable might cost a lot more money.
Yeah. Well, as
So,
this is informational, and it's
Yeah.
give you guys a heads up of what we're trying to do. Michael,
yeah, in my opinion, I think it's a great thing. We definitely, try to do what we could with, to the extent of what we're able to. There's a lot of information that would need to move it forward. And that's even if we have the option to move it forward. I'd really want to consult,
This is- Stuart,
it is, and it's something that would have to talk. I mean, it might satisfy that 120 days timeline if we were to put in an accepted offer or something like that, or the open spaces were to put in an accepted offer that matches what the current builder is thinking for the price. And, with a contingency of, not being available for payment until November or something. I mean, there could be, if they signed a purchase and sales way back in September, they're not in a rush to get their money, obviously.
yeah, I don't. It seems like to me they should have had come to the town first for first refusal, first offers, the way it runs. But they went to a developer first and got a proposal from them first. So we're in this deadline.
It's understandable. It's unfortunate. It is definitely a question that's going to have to be brought up to probably Stuart or somebody at the coalition of what our options are at this point. And we're definitely going to need a whole lot more information. And it's unfortunate that Doug and Jennifer are pretty tied up right now. I think that we'll probably need to have some discussions with a few different people.
Yeah, what Doug has
I
sent out an
definitely support it. Or I
email
will.
asking different boards and committees to planning board, to conservation commission and so forth, all take a look at this and see what we can do.
All right.
We're gonna,
the landowner could be in violation where they didn't present this to the town first. So there could be something wrong.
as I said,
That proposal.
an attorney has to look at this too. We found that they lumped the two lots together, which is one lot has to be subtracted out for the 61A. Michael,
That is something that you should probably take to, take to town council.
Yep.
How your committee presents it to them and gets some kind of a ruling on it. Was it, a breach of protocol to get the first refusal from basically nobody and go straight to a builder? I mean, that might have, like was just stated, that might be a breach of protocol there.
Whether it
I'd
wasn't,
find that
wasn't,
out first. Excuse me?
my opinion, Derek, this is Peter. Whether it wasn't a breach of contract, it sounds like it was, but I'm not a legal beagle lawyer. I think it's almost like putting the cart before the horse. We had a tough enough time buying a lot of land from Robbins, who was a local guy, that we had all the figures in, and Doug was up on and on board with the whole thing right from the get-go. Well, information-wise,
Yeah.
I think just like you just said it, Derek, there's a lot of people that have got to chime in on this before we can even really talk about it in depth.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I know Thomas Hastings. He's a tough developer, right? But Michael may have something to say. Mr. Chairman, Michael.
Absolutely. Michael Bromberg. You are on mute. And as a reminder, we are live on Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You got me?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I was saying, sorry, I had to run out a couple times. There was a little plumbing emergency. So there's a few things here. Just so your committee knows that on Mass Oliver, you can get a map. I'm probably sure you're aware of it, but you can get a map that will show the wetlands and everything on the properties. If you go to Mass Oliver, it will lead you right to it. So on the assessors map, you probably won't see on map 82, you won't see lot 16. It's in very fine print up in the upper left-hand corner, so you'll be able to see that consists of just over 36 acres. The lot 2 consists of 2.9 acres, and that has an old home on it. I think it was valued at $75,000, but that's in the purchase and sale agreement that we sent around today. So in talking to Doug yesterday, he mentioned to ask you guys, not necessarily to vote tonight, but at least discuss to use administrative funds to pay for the appraisal. You know, discuss it tonight or vote on it tonight would be ideal, but I mean, obviously there's a lot to do here. In talking to Wildlands Trust today, Scott, as you know, Scott, I think, Derek, right? He volunteered. He does land grants all the time. So he said he'd volunteer to do the land grant for us, and which would be a massive benefit to us. He does them all the time. So he said that we haven't had any land grants in Rockland since the golf course that we did, where we got $500,000 for the golf course back then. It was called self-help grants back in those days. And because of that, he said, we're right on the top of the list to be able to get a grant, you know, if the application is acceptable, which is really good news too, because we haven't been taking much money out of it. The other thing he mentioned was that the purchase and sale agreement definitely needs to be reviewed because it has to be a bona fide purchase and sale agreement. A lot of time a purchase and sale agreement that a developer can submit to the town, you know, as an offer. It's not a true bona fide P&S agreement per the state API program for, you know, grants and stuff, like for 61A is what I should say. So I read it briefly. I saw a lot of flaws in it, that including putting lots of land in there that are in there that are not actually 61As. So if the attorney was to look over the P&S that was submitted and found some flaws in it, they would have to resubmit it. And so our time clock doesn't start until it's resubmitted again. So that might be a week, it might be a month. So we gained a little time on that to prepare ourselves more for this tract of land. So two things, you know, discuss the administrative funds and then have the attorney, Donald and I can ask the attorney to look over the P&S agreement, or Doug can ask them. Because I'm told that sometimes they'll actually design it so that the town wouldn't be interested in pursuing it because of the way it's written. So, so the land grants can provide up to 70% of the cost, but only up to 400,000. It used to be 500,000 a few years ago, but now they can provide up to 400,000. I had a few other things here too. I think, geez. I think that's it right now that I have, but I know Donald and I will work full swing on this to get this thing going if we can do it. It's the 61 A's and B's that we've been following in town to chase down to keep this open space. there's only 3 of them in town, and it would be excellent to pick this up. We also discussed the benefits, the issues the town would have by not purchasing this land, if it is developed, how much more it would cost the town in school and buses and revenue like that. So it might be a wise investment for the town to do this, especially in the event if they want to, circumvent the zoning laws with a 40B somehow. So anyway, I think that's it, but thank you.
All right, so, I mean, our big
Mr.
thing
Chair-
right now. Somebody was speaking.
Yeah, could I have the floor for a second? Can we
Absolutely.
discuss possibly making a vote to give them 10 grand to get an appraisal on this property? That way they don't have to come back to us. They can keep the ball rolling with the timeline and they can get that going with Doug. Is that something we can do in this meeting?
It would basically, we could do it. It would be pursuant to, getting a quote from somebody that is below what we'd want to actually approve. My only concern is whether or not we'd be breaching something about open meeting where we didn't actually post specifically the property that we're talking about on the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I agree with it. It should be an agenda item, I think.
Yeah, when you're calling a vote for any kind of funding like that, there's got to be even a mention of, bringing something to the floor that's gonna, cost money, that we're basically voting on something. And I was under the impression too, that like this, it was going to be a discussion. The agenda was actually posted prior to my speaking with Mr. Bromberg about the meeting yesterday. So there was no updating it or altering it after that fact, or we wouldn't have been able to meet tonight under the current agenda.
It could be problematic too if we spend 10,000 and then not go through with it, trying to explain how we justified spending the 10K.
We spent 10K to appraise it for a builder.
Yeah.
It's got to be something, I mean, on a personal level with outside, influences or whatnot. Yeah, I think it's awesome. And like you had said, a lot of the land that was getting, the tax concessions for agricultural use and so forth are definitely the pinnacle, the ones that you want to get. The town's already passed up on numerous years of taxes that could have been making from that parcel, to have somebody sweep in and take it, we're losing on two ends. We lost tax revenue and we've also lost open space. So I would definitely be for it. I think that as a committee, we would have to ourselves get some counsel, find out what would be possible to do. Are we entitled to breach our own guides, on this late of a project? I think that we'd get some clearance and some leeway where it is kind of an emergency time constrained project, as we did with the COVID-19 relief package that we did last year, being in a pandemic, a state of emergency type of thing. We might be able to do something like that. But there's a lot of information that's got to come forth first, as far as, I mean, if that PNS is even legal, is there a breach there where the town didn't actually get the first right of refusal, somebody else did? And then not only that, but how feasible is it that we could actually get it? That, our funds right now, I can tell you would not cover it. What we have available after town meeting, once everything is actually set into their own accounts, we don't have enough specifically to fund that. We'd probably have something around 400 that would be available, and that's if we decimated our entire budgeted reserve and the entire open space reserve. We couldn't do anything with historical or community housing for that. It's not designated as such. There is the option of bonding something like this, a 5 or 10-year bond or whatnot, so that we wouldn't have to. Especially if you're getting a grant or could get the grant. But there definitely is a lot of information that we need. My suggestion is that we schedule another meeting in a time frame that would fit with you guys to get some of this research done. If it's 12 days, 15 days from now, whatever it may be, a couple weeks, schedule another meeting, revisit it. And in that time, it'll give us a little bit of space to try to find out what we can actually do as a committee without violating anything. And meet back about it. I think that it's got a hell of a lot of value to the town. I think that from my stance, I think this is prime time for what CPA is. To protect the land. Preservation is the middle word, right? So I think that it's something I personally would love to see happen. I think that you probably get some pretty good support without speaking out of line from the rest of the committee members. We've just got a lot of penmanship that we need. We need to dot some I's and cross some T's to make sure that this is worth making the investment in, and to see if it is feasible that we could come out in, on the winning side of this. If it has to be split to 2 parcels, that purchase and sales lists it as one lump lot. That might be an issue. Might give us some time, like Michael said, might give us some extra time to where they can have to resubmit it. It doesn't seem like many legal documents happen very quickly. So that might be on our side a little bit. But that's what I would suggest. Is there any other input from our committee on this, guys? Anybody want to?
Yeah, I'd like to speak up. So, 36 acres for that one lot alone. I mean, that's more than 10 acres more than what Hearts is today with the Robbins land. That would be our largest town contiguous open space. So for that, I'm definitely on board. I think it's going to be important that we limit as you go forward as the open space committee, limit your pursuit to that one lot that is restricted, because I think you're going to get in trouble. And I don't think we can even go after. We'd have to get additional guidance, but go after a residential plot with a house on it. We'd have to.
I can speak for
I don't
myself.
think it's worth. I don't think it's
want
worth
it.
going
I don't
after.
want the residential lot.
Yeah. So even if we lowball and say, call it 300,000 for the house in the 2-acre property, we're looking at 600,000. It sounds like there's a good shot of us getting that grant money. And Derek mentioned what we have in reserve for for open space and et cetera. I think it's a good play. What I'd advise, and I agree, Derek, coming back in 2 weeks makes a lot of sense. Give open space some time to talk with town council, start to get some quotes from appraisers and surveyors. And if you have those quotes available, or at least one quote, so we know what the ballpark we're looking at for funding is for that, it's going to make that vote a lot easier to approve that administrative funds.
If I could say something, Mr. Chairman, Steve, that's spot on. I think that's what, I would even put it in the form of a motion that we wait until we at least have, first of all, more of the information thrown out to everybody else, and then see what comes back, so we have some kind of figure and some kind of, more information to go by before we even suggest to do anything.
Absolutely. So am I to speak correctly by saying that we should actually maybe make a motion to table this for a 2-week period to be readdressed at its own meeting? Basically pursuant to the information coming back on a quote for an appraisal, whether or not the contract is good. And anything else, input from Scott McFadden at Wildlands. I mean, he's a great resource to have if any of our committee doesn't know him or hasn't talked with him. Wealth of knowledge, and he's incredible at what he does. He's a great tool to have in your bag. You know, he's a good guy. If that is going to be it, then we can entertain a motion to set that.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
All in favor of setting a 2-week, almost a a 2-week deadline to get some information before returning to meeting, quotes and such on the McCarthy Farm property from map 82, lot 16
And two.
and 2. Yep, 16
well,
and
Two is actually not a 61A.
yeah, so it would really only be 16 that we're interested in. So all in favor of revisiting this, tabling it until 2-week time frame, which would put us on, what is that, the 13th? No, that Thursday,
15th.
15th. So on the 15th of revisiting it on the 15th of April. We have a motion and a second. So roll call. Yes, for Derek Yule, Tom
Aye.
Reagan,
Go read.
Joe Reese, Charlie.
Yes.
All right, Steve O'Donnell
Yes.
and Peter Yule.
Yes.
All right, so we will revisit this. We will set it as the only agenda item unless something else happens to pop up. We will set this up for Thursday, the 15th.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I was asked to ask you, what portion would be open space that you have for funding, just because Donald and I are trying to come up with other ways of funding. So if you, I mean, obviously we don't want to bond unless you really have to. But so is there, I don't know how exactly how CPA works, there's 3 parts or whatever. Is there a certain part just for?
There is one part said can only be used for open space. That is a 10% cut. So right now we had just wrote the articles for this. It was like 54,000 and change.
That's it.
That's going to be set aside for you from this disbursement, where we basically completely decimated it in 2020 as far as coming into 2020 town meeting. We brought our balance down to virtually nothing, and then with the COVID relief package, we used up the majority of it. But we do have the option of our budgeted reserve, which can be used for any of those 3. We have to guarantee 10%, but the budgeted reserve can be used for whatever the committee, deems fit. So we can bring something out of that, and that was, 300,000 and change. It was that we have in that. So we do have funds. It's a small enough purchase that we shouldn't have to bond it. It all really depends on whether or not a grant comes through, and if it comes through for the maximum amount of 400, the appraisal comes back, even if that is accurate, where they valued that lot at $75,000, the house is a tear down. That's just the value of the 2-acre land. If you took out 100 for that, it's still an $800,000 pill to swallow. And we just, that would again wipe out pretty much everything that would have in the budgeted reserve and in the open space until the next disbursement, which doesn't come around until next November. Not that that's a bad thing. I think protecting the land would be better off getting it. I think the town would be better off to get it. It all really comes down to, just like we said, and just the information. We need more information. how realistic is it? Is it worth the investment on an appraisal? At this point, I don't think so. Not without the information. And that's like you said, call an appraisal company, get somebody to give you a quote. What would it cost to appraise a 36 acre, lot of woodlands, wetlands and uplands, and get some information from town council, some more information from Doug. We'll do our work on our side and talk to Stuart and see, what available options we have. And if it's even, possible for us to breach our own guidelines. I think we probably are well within our rights to do so, where it is under a time constraint, deemed almost like an emergency situation type of a thing. At our own discretion, basically. But I think that we'll do that. We go forward, meet in 2 weeks and see where we lie.
Excellent. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll be in touch.
Okay. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, so to return to our passed over item on the agenda was just an update on current projects. Is there any new information that anybody has on any of the projects that we have underway or have currently been approved? I see Charlie Williams.
Yep. So I would say that we have progress on King Philip. It's slow, but we do have progress. Myself and Dave Taylor met with representatives from Bell Traffic in regards to the signalization of the rail trail. We definitely have plan moving forward with that. So I'm hoping we can, over the next few weeks, we're going to see some more movement on that, but we definitely have made some inroads in that project. The other thing, and maybe we can circle back to this, but why don't we circle back? So those are the two updates on the projects that I'm involved in, and we'll wait to hear from somebody else, and then I'd like to pose an idea.
Okay. Any other updates on current projects, Tom, for historical or?
Nothing going on with the Tramp House. I mean, met with Peter and Jim in about almost 3 months now. So it's kind of,
Same goes for the GAR Hall projects as well.
I mean, hopefully things are going to start happening. The weather's warming up, so I'm going to be talking with them shortly.
Sounds good, because we actually, there's several historic. We also have the Remembrance Park project next to Town Hall as well. Is one of the historical items. All right, we'll look forward to getting some of that info. Joe, what do you got? Joe's on the mute button.
Title search isn't going good according to Doug. So let's cross our fingers we get some better response from that. Right now, not looking good.
For Spring Lake, that's what I assume. We missed about half of what you were saying. You were on the mute.
Yes,
That's the
Spring Lake.
Spring Lake title search.
Yes.
All right. And the Hartsuff seems to be having a lot of good stuff. A lot of good input came back on the survey, I believe. That could be
Yes.
bringing some pretty good future projects.
I'll let Steve talk on that one.
Yeah, we had a meeting and met with the company doing the evaluation for the future use of Hudson Park. Came back with 3 options, kind of talked through, based on the survey results, what people would like to see. Outdoor adventure was a big ask. So looking at rope park, that kind of thing, being able to traverse something lower to the ground is what Gene's thinking, but something that allows older kids to have something to do. That playground is really for younger children. Discussed making some of the paths more ADA compliant, so that folks have an easier time getting around the space, which I think is good. Improving facilities was one of the big topics that continued to come up, and I think we all expected that. The the bathhouse there is, I think older than most of us on this committee.
Oh, yeah.
So no, it's really good. They talked about potentially moving the disc golf course around so that it didn't conflict with some of the walking paths. Provided some information, just, PDJ standards for a whole length, because what they were proposing was really a putt-putt course for the space that they wanted to use. So we gave them the input back. I was supposed to meet again in a couple of weeks to discuss again and start to finalize that usage plan.
Excellent. Excellent. So I have spoken recently with Dave Taylor too, as well, about a couple of the projects that he's going to be working on. They'll be doing the hardscape, almost like the people have been referring it to the rest stop near Dunkin' Donuts on the rail trail. He's hoping to get that underway pretty good and kick it off soon. He's just trying to figure out some other projects that they got going on as well and free up some manpower. If you've noticed, Tom, Pete's guys have been down there at the cemetery doing some pretty good work.
Yep.
Looks nice. Took down a lot of brush, cleaned it out well. I know Dave had taken down some stuff too earlier in the year. It looks nice, and it already looks better. Once we get through this and we can actually get something involved with the restoration there, that we can pick in some CPA funding to it and be another project that we could run with. Pete, you got any good updates or anything that you have discussed?
No, I mean, I've got nothing. I'll add to the House of Park gig. It's crazy how busy, and Joe knows this as much as I do, if not more, how busy it is down House of Park between the basketball court that went in that kind of had nothing to do with us, but between the basketball court and the disc golf and everything else, it's crazy busy down there, which is a good thing.
Yep.
As far as the cemetery goes, we spent a few days in there and it looks better. It's not what we want, but I think we're almost ready to get some bids on putting some new fencing around that. I just don't know where to start on that.
Yeah, because it's got to be, for us to be involved, it would have to be a historically appropriate restoration. Something like that. We couldn't pay for chain link fencing. It's like a baseball field. We couldn't pay for something
Right.
along those lines. But as a historic cemetery and a historic preservation or restoration, we could definitely do something to move that along.
The cemetery predates Rockland, obviously. I was wondering, once we can actually go into libraries again, I was considering going to the Dyer Library in Abington to see if they had any information.
They might have period pictures.
Exactly
anything.
what the front ones at one point looked like. If you can have like a picture that showed wrought iron fencing, you could, justify and say, well, we're bringing it back to the way it was supposed to look like, and you could, get a solid footing to get funding, do that.
Yep.
Not just like, well, that would be nice looking. We could really, figure out what it looked like at one point.
It would have to be historically accurate.
Yeah.
To qualify for it, we know that it's got to, preserve historical structure,
Mm-hmm.
or, basically recreate that historical, historically significant piece of it anyways, which I think the wrought iron, something like that. I've been out to a few pretty hard to get to places that have cemeteries. Actually, one of them out near Belchertown, the Belchertown forest and whatnot. It's supposedly a haunted site, but their wrought iron is amazing. The gates are still functioning. They're just incredible. It's artistry really with steel. They had been recreated probably about 30 years ago. They had somebody redo the original ones to make them, period correct in appearance and whatnot, and they're pretty impressive. It'd be nice to see something like that down there. Anybody else got anything to add to the current project updates? Anybody with inside information? No? Okay. So
Back to
unless there's,
Studley.
yep,
Back to Studley, we're still going forward with the article until the search comes to an end.
yeah, I mean, it was approved by us to go forward with it. We can still earmark that money for it. And, as with anything in CPA, if something does not add up to what we can do legally, the funding just gets reverted back to the budgeted reserve or
Correct.
whichever account it was drawn from. So if something were to fall through with it, not a big deal. It's reserved, it's there. If it doesn't, if it does, so be it, we move on.
Yes.
All right, so Charlie, I see you have a couple spots up now.
Yeah, I did
And
that because
you're-
my computer may die, so I brought it up on my phone.
I didn't know if you were going to share something with us that was.
Yeah, no, my house is in shambles right now because we have moved all of our furniture off the first floor because we're refinishing our floor. So it's just like, I don't know where my computer plug is. So what I was thinking was, I don't know if this is even possible, but I know that the group of us are all very, very busy and with different projects and trying to, outside of CPA do things. Would it be possible to use administration funds to kind of bring in somebody that could be like a project manager that could be managing these projects when we can't do them to keep the momentum going on them? I mean, the King Philip is a very specific one. So, I mean, I own that, but I mean, Tom's project and the light project and stuff like that. Is that even in the realm of possibility to do that?
It is. It 100% is. And actually some towns do that. Administrative funds. They use administrative funds to pay somebody a part-time salary to basically act as a liaison between the people actually doing the projects and the committee. They also a lot of times act as a secretary and note taker and so forth. But administrative funds can be used to hire somebody, especially if it was almost like a facilitator. That is a possibility and it can be done.
And I'm not eager to spend our funds.
Tough.
I'm looking at, maybe that could be the kickstart that we need to get some of these things, I feel like, the squeaky wheel gets the oil might be is, between my 40 plus hours at the station and whatnot, it's hard for me, to carve out time to do that. I'm sure it is with everybody else. So I just was wondering if that is even an option. If it is an option, do we have an interest in that? Do we not have an interest in that? Should we just keep it the way it is? It was kind of food for thought at this point. I'm open to any suggestions on it, but it was just kind of food for thought.
I love the idea of it. Like I said, I know other towns actually do that. They have somebody on the payroll. The tough thing with ours is our 5% administrative budget's rarely over. I mean, we got like $27,000 is what we're dealing with this year. For the amount of work that would entail, I don't know that you'd find a $15,000 a year part-time person that would do it.
Okay.
But there might be another way to get that funding. There might be another way to fund a position like that. I think our best bet with something like that is to reach out as well at the same time that we're gonna, reach out to Stewart or Chase to get some information on, what we could actually do with that parcel problem there. It might not be a bad idea to reach out to them and find out what they've seen towns do in the past? Is it something that CPA administrative funds pick up $5,000 and the town, hires somebody for the remaining balance or whatever to help, facilitate a lot of these projects and keep tabs on them, really.
And maybe it's a stopgap measure until we've got a few under our belt and we really know how that system works and how we get these projects moving. I just, and I know that COVID has really, put a monkey in everything. Nothing is moving the way that it should because of that. But maybe if we did it the first time or brought somebody in, maybe even as a consultant to say, all right, this is how you got to kickstart these projects. This is what you got to be looking for. Because, I think we're all, Derek, you probably have the most experience with CPA than anybody, but I think we're all kind of feeling it out as we go along. And it was just a thought that I had, one of those
I love it.
stupid
I love
shower thoughts, when you're sitting there and like, yeah, all right. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm 100% for something like that. It would just have to pretty much feel it out and find out, get some real good solid information from the committee or from the coalition on,
Mhm.
how we go about doing this. Especially, my only concern would be the funding. How much would it cost to get somebody to do something like that? They had talked about it in the past. You buy $1,000 laptop, you pay somebody $5,000 a year to take meeting minutes, once a month. Keep track of our budget items, things like that. I don't know what it would cost to actually, grab somebody that would take that, that kind of a burden on to be the sole heir to these projects, but
Right.
let me talk
And I don't
to,
even-
It could be,
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that's the answer, to have somebody to take those whole air, but maybe somebody to kind of help us get jump started with a couple of them. And I think that in normal times, we wouldn't be struggling with this. I think that, it would have moved a lot quicker. I think everything just kind of, went to shit. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe even if you just did a consultant that said, all right, listen, I've done 15 CPA projects and I'm going to come in and give you the best practices for that. And you pay them a consultant fee or whatever. So I think reaching out to Stuart and the coalition is for some advice, and that would be great.
That's technically another step that they actually do. If we want to, they do training sessions, they do things like that with other towns. I can request, we pay our dues for a reason. I can request that somebody attend a meeting or set up a separate meeting to be able to bring them in and have them maybe guide us through we have this funding, the group that petitioned it got the funding, it's available to them. How do we push that group into getting these things running faster or smoother or, keeping up to date with them? That's something that we could probably even bring them in for a consultation, a sit down, and really just kind of use it as a training session for us, constantly learning a little more about the process and what it entails, beyond, what we've done. I think it's a fantastic idea, Charlie. I think, it can only make, our jobs better, and it can only make the committee stronger. I think that's a fantastic point, and I'll be all for it. That's something that I can throw out a message to Stuart, get a phone call from him,
Okay.
or even Chase, who works with him as well, who's been very helpful with things in the past. But that sounds great. Sounds great.
Cool.
Anybody else have any input, updates, or otherwise things needed to be discussed? All right, so if that's it, we are set with the 15th. I will put in a new agenda and request a date going forward. Time frame. Is 8 o'clock too late? Is 6 o'clock too early? We've kind of had both.
Good.
Huh? Is a different
6
day
am I-
better? You know, we can actually amend it. We made a motion to meet within 2 weeks or giving it 2 weeks. We could amend that and do it on another night.
I would say 6 o'clock is too early for me, but that's just me. Because I don't get out of work until 6.
7 would be good for me. 8 o'clock is just a little tough with bedtime.
8's tough.
But
Yeah,
Yeah,
8 is tough.
8 is tough.
is Thursday the day? Like, is that still okay with everybody, or would it be better for a Wednesday at 7 o'clock or something, or?
Wednesday,
It's all the same to me.
we have a Hearts of meeting that Wednesday, I believe.
On the 14th. All right, so,
Yeah, see, the Wednesday, the 14th wouldn't work for me either because it's a union meeting night.
all right, we'll stick with the 15th then, and we'll do something we'll shoot for 7 o'clock. On the 15th of April. And we'll get that out. If anybody has any other suggestions or agenda items that they would like to add over and above, shoot me a message and I'll put them on it, but we'll get that in the works now. See what they come back with. You know, I'll see what information we can get, but see what they come back with. You know, I feel that it's a great opportunity, but I also am a little skeptical of whether or not we can pull this together in the time frame that's going to be necessary. It's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we saw how long it took for Hearts of, you know, and
We don't even have a firm number.
exactly, they don't even know, they don't have a firm parcel. You know, they know one part of it, but the other one's attached in the PNS, and so they've got a lot to do. I know they just jumped on, they wanted to come to the meeting, so we can go from there, but if
Well, I
that's
think that's why
it,
it's important, you know, to
yeah.
know what that action is by the town. Like what is actually required? Is it an intent to move, or just, you know, a notarized letter saying an intent to move forward, or does it need to be, you know, executed? I
Yep.
think that's what I was trying to get at earlier is, you know, what is that action really?
That action just might be an intent.
Right.
You know, a letter of intention to purchase, or, you know, a deposit to purchase, like you'd make on a house. You know, you leave a deposit when you put your offer in. You know, who knows? Find out from that moving forward, but hopefully they'll come with all that information next time. So if that is it, I can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
yeah, second,
Okay, last roll, Tom Reagan,
Approve.
Eric Yule approved, Joe Reese,
Aye. Aye.
Peter,
yay.
Charlie Williams.
Yes.
Okay, and Stephen O'Donnell.
Aye.
That is a vote unanimous to adjourn. I will be in touch, gentlemen.
All right. Night, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good one.